We're preseason ranked number 8, but I think we got to go higher and higher, try to get the number 1 spot.
We're going to get everybody's best shooting nights, everybody's best thing, but that's just a challenge that we can figure out together and overcome.
Richie Saunders for 3. BYU claw their way back for the win to open the second year of the Kevin Young era with a W.
Dubs up. BYU beats Villanova 71-66. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. I am Jeremy Jordan in Studio B. He is Spencer Linton in Studio V. And we now bring in our homie, Sean Farnham from Studio C in California somewhere. Sean, how you doing, man?
I love what you just did right there, and I love the fact that we're like in 3 different geographical locations, 3 different states, but for one common cause, to talk about college basketball.
And Los Cougars de BYU, who got the win last night in Vegas behind Spence and T-Mobile Arena. What were your impressions of BYU's opening night win over the Cats?
Look, I think these are the type of games that they scheduled for. You need to play a team out of the Big East that's going to grind it, that's going to take you out of transition, not allow you to play at your natural pace in which I think BYU wants to play at. And you have to show the discipline to be able to find a way to win that game. And they did last night. I thought one of the biggest reasons why they were able to win the game was their ball control. They did not try to force the issue. I think they only ended up with 4 turnovers on the game. And that allowed them to find a way to win. It would have been better when they had the 14-point lead in the second half if they would have been able to maintain that cushion. But it's early in the college basketball season, and that's not unexpected.
Sean, I know a lot of people are going to point at AJ Dybantsa and his 21 points, or even Rob Wright III getting some critical buckets down the stretch as maybe the MVP of the game. But who do you think, an unsung hero maybe, was the MVP of BYU's win over Villanova?
Well, I mean, why don't you just say his name? Why are you asking me these questions like it's a vague, surprise that I'm going to say Keba Keita? Clearly that's where you were that was the most leading question in the history of television.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Hey, I'm going to take out the top 3 guys' names. Who else would you like to talk about? Look, I thought Keba Keita was huge, and what I will tell you about it is it's a positive and it's a negative, if I'm going to be honest with you, because his value obviously was huge. He had the 7 rebounds, he had some blocked shots, he was a physical presence, he had the muscle obviously and the toughness, going to the floor for the tied up ball and walking away with the ball. Little things like that just send a message like, hey, we're not going to walk away from the physicality of the game. Here's the problem that I have, though. Who else was there? Who else matched that toughness and that physicality on the glass, in the paint? Stanton only played 1 minute. He's got to get more time, but he also didn't look like he was ready in that 1 minute either. And obviously I've been to practice. You guys know that. I left there very high on him, and I think that he will get there, but I think it's about getting him to a place of being comfortable out on the floor. But Keba Keita was huge, and he's going to be huge all year long. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay out of foul trouble, and he needs to stay on the floor, because when he's on the floor, they are a better defensive team. They are a better rebounding team. And there's a presence and a little edge about them that allows them to also, by the way, because of his shot blocking ability, and we saw it multiple times, whether it's the one you guys showed in the highlight walking in as we came into the segment, or whether it was the one from behind on the dunk late in the game, the dunk attempt where he blocked it from behind. Those are game-winning plays. And he made winning plays. And sometimes we get caught up in the box score, and I'm sure we'll talk about AJ and Robert and Richie here in a second, but when you get caught up in the box score, you sometimes miss out on the value of a player and the number of winning plays in which they make over the course of the game. And Keba Keita made a lot of winning plays last night. He's going to need to continue to, at least early on, until this team finds their rotation.
He is Sean Farnham of ESPN. He loves a leading question. Would you say that 70% is a good percentage of points from the big 3?
Yes. I would say the distribution of those points was almost what I would like to see. I think that those 3 are going to lead the way all season long, and they're as talented as a big 3 that we have in college basketball when they're clicking. And I thought AJ did a wonderful job last night of not pressing the issue and taking what was available to him in the moments that were available to him. I think obviously his free throw shooting has to be better. I think he would probably admit that his free throw shooting needs to be better. But I thought it was a great debut for a kid that has a lot of expectation on him and is drawing a ton of attention. I thought one of the best plays of the game was the swing that went to him to the left-hand side of the floor in the second half. I'm closing my eyes because I'm trying to remember the play exactly. Two guys ran to him, and he swung it into the corner. I believe Davis hit the three-pointer in the corner in a pivotal moment of that game. And, look, he's going to get a ton of attention. And so AJ needs to continue to stay within himself and play the right way, especially after, like, you sit there and watch KOP go off and do what he did for Arizona, and everybody going, oh, my gosh, a freshman, 30 points, and just heaping all this praise on him. The innate thing would be like, I'm AJ, I'm better, I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you what I can do. But instead, he played a very composed and very mature game. And I think that is not surprising to me one bit. I think obviously Richie was under the weather yesterday, as reported by TNT. I think they need to find a way to get him more three-point shots. That is going to be something I'm sure we'll talk about as far as what we'd like to see change or evolve in this team as the season goes along. And then Rob Wright, his ability to get downhill. He's as good as anybody in the country at beating his man off the bounce and getting to the center area of the paint. And I think those three are going to be very dangerous and very difficult for a lot of teams to match up with.
Sean, I'm just going to go ahead and lean full steam into this leading question scenario that we have going on the show today and ask you the following. Why was defensive rebounding for BYU and giving up 31 second chance points the clearly biggest issue for this BYU team last night?
Is it the biggest issue? I mean, I would also say that I would also say the fact you got outscored by 31 points off your bench is probably an issue too. So if you were going to come out of this game and you're going to be critical of two things, one is the inability to rebound the basketball and secure your possession. Defensively, I thought BYU was very solid last night, right up until the point in time in which the shot went up. And then they gave up 17 offensive rebounds. They were out of position off of those offensive rebounds, and they gave up easy looks around the rim. The best shots that Villanova had were off of offensive rebounds. You mentioned the 31 points. They were outscored by 21 on second chance points. I think that's a huge concern. You close your eyes and you think about teams like Houston coming down the train tracks. That's not a good recipe of success if you're going to take on the Houston Cougars later on this season, giving up that many points in second chance points. So collectively, they need to rebound with better toughness at the defensive end of the floor in particular. And I think that's something that obviously you go back on tape and you talk about missed box outs. And those missed box outs, by the way, are not just from the interior presence of BYU. It often came from the guards that would watch the shot go up and their guy would run by them. You can't have that happen. So I think for BYU to fulfill their promise, and again, the measuring stick of this team is different. If this was last year or the year before, we'd be like, man, they beat Villanova. This is just great. It's all wonderful. Who cares about the offensive rebounding? Like, hey, this team showed a lot of promise. But because the expectation is that this is a top 10 team that has the capabilities of potentially ending their season in Indianapolis, everything gets put under a microscope a little bit differently. So while the focus, and I think a lot of people are going to talk about the fact that the second chance points, and that does need to get cleared up, as I just was alluding to. My bigger concern is who's coming off the bench and providing anything. Yeah, you absolutely got dismantled in points off the bench, 38-7, 31-point differential. And there was nobody off the bench that looked like they were comfortable, capable to be able to provide offense in the system and the flow of the game. There are players coming off the bench right now that are capable of providing that, but last night was not their night. Whether it was the pace of the game, the physicality of the game, two things that were not at BYU's liking. If that was the case, then maybe that's the reason why the lack of production. But if you don't start to develop that bench, and KY knows this, like if you don't get better production off your bench over the long haul of the season, that's going to equate to losses in certain games in particular. The rebounding thing would really concern me with teams like UConn coming soon. That you need to get right, and you need to make sure that those things are being challenged every day at practice. But so is getting those guys to come off the bench to feel comfortable. Because if there's an ankle, if there's an injury, if there's, foul trouble, you can't have drop-off in the way that we saw last night from the starters to the bench and feel comfortable and confident that this team would remain as a top 10 team.
BYU got to the rim a lot and got a lot of great looks. Rob Wright kind of struggled in that regard. The good news is he can get to the rim a lot. The bad news was he didn't make a lot. Do you feel like that will be fixed somewhat easily? Was that just a product of one night?
I think it's first game jitters. I think it's excitement of look, there's a lot of adrenaline that goes through your body on the first game of the season, especially when you're talking about this team in that arena with the expectations. It was rocking, and especially even coming off the game that played right before them, where the defending national champs lost their first game since February of last year. So I think that's fine. I think what concerns me a little bit in regards to that was the offense didn't have the same kind of flow that we saw from a year ago. And that's not uncharacteristic, in particular, early in the season. But if you were fundraising based on the amount of dribbles, you made a lot of money last night for a charity if you're a BYU team. That ball was not moving the way that we're accustomed to. And I think those are things that are going to have to evolve. I think you can go late in the shot clock. You can put the ball in AJ's hands. I thought AJ did a really good job of actually distributing off the bounce as well as looking for his shot. I think Rob Wright needs to get a little bit better at that. I thought when he dribble penetrated deep and guys stepped to him, there were opportunities to reverse pivot, kick out, maybe to Richie for a three. And on that relocation that Richie's so good at on dribble penetration, we didn't get a lot of those looks last night if you're BYU. So I think that comes with time. It comes with synergy. It comes with, it's very easy, by the way, when you're practicing only against your teammates, or you go through an exhibition where things, remember the exhibition against Nebraska? We're talking, well, they got to get their defense better. Their defense was pretty good last night. It was really good. Why? Because it wasn't the same defense even remotely close to what they were playing against Nebraska. And so I think that as you get more film, by the way, you can point out deficiencies. And I know that this coaching staff in particular utilizes film in a very positive way to educate and to assist in their coaching. And I believe that they're going to be able to do that coming off of this game. And one of those areas is, I think, hey, even in a slow-down game where we're walking the ball up the floor a little bit more than we want to, or we're playing at the other opponent's pace, once we get into our action, we got to shift the defense faster. And the way you shift the defense and you get them into rotations and you get mismatches and you get opportunities is by swinging the ball through passing, inside, out, punch, dribble, kick. All of those things start to expand and collapse the defense. And the more you do that and the more times you can get ball reversal from side to side, the better and cleaner look you're going to get. And I think that's probably one of the things that I would look to see BYU focus on in the next two games prior to taking on UConn.
The standard's high. Holy Cross Saturday, Delaware Tuesday, and then the next Saturday in Boston, BYU versus UConn. It's all a build to that. Sean, we appreciate the time as always, man.
Let me make sure that I tell you this, though, because a lot of this stuff kind of had some negative connotations to it, right? Because we're talking about cleaning up things. I think this was a really good win, and I think this was a really important win for BYU to understand that they can play at multiple paces. Championship level teams, it's easy to win games when you can play at your pace. It is hard to win games when you're playing at someone else's pace, and they are dictating the entire tempo and flow of the game. And there's going to be games like that throughout the course of the season, in Big 12 play, in their non-con, that they're going to be challenged in that regard. But what they showed last night was the mental toughness, the resiliency, and the understanding of what it took to win the game. And I think that's immensely positive for this BYU team. There's areas to clean up, but if you're a BYU fan and you walked away from last night only focused on those, I think you're missing the boat. This team's potential is there. I thought AJ was outstanding. I thought Rob and Richie need to get on the same page a little bit more. And obviously, you need a healthy Richie because when you're dealing with the flu, trust me, it's not fun. But I think there's a lot that BYU needs to be excited about. Now you just need to build up to it. And remember what I said when I sat in the studio with you. This team will take losses, and they will, because of the schedule that they have. But it's that building process and that elevation of starting from here and trying to move their way up the mountain and not have inconsistencies or not be peaking early and then dropping late in the season. And I think this team and the trajectory, the things we're talking about, offensive rebounding and bench production, those are all things that build usually throughout the course of the season, and I anticipate that's going to happen.
Like the Yodel guy on The Price is Right, just going up the mountain.
Do you know that's what I was thinking of? Gosh, you and I are so similar. It's unbelievable.
Let's go, Sean. We appreciate the
I
time,
get
man.
my hair. I get Jerem. I put gel in my hair today just for you.
Thank you.
Just so you know, so I look sharp. I didn't realize that Spencer was just going to roll out of bed and put on a hoodie and join us from a parking lot, but that's okay.
We're all in hoodies today, let's be honest. Sean, we'll talk to you soon.